Carl Borett, 8-month, 1336. I was born in my own home in Osterdock. The doctors delivered me there. I had to go to work when I was 8 years old. I worked for one of the neighbors driving a tractor, an OCC case, and he had a wagon and a hay loader behind it. And the first time I went down to the field, when I got to the end, I missed part of the hay. But it didn't take me very long. He had me in a big field, and my neighbors, their name was Frank Hyde. They were super people. And I stayed there that summer with them for 3 or 4 weeks. And they were still real close neighbors from where I lived all my life there.
Really?
But there's only one remaining. The younger Frank's wife was 90 years old now. Well, I didn't have any child life, hardly, because in 1945, all the hired men went to war. A lot of the names are on that list I gave you there, a lot of the Mosers there. And anyway, my dad had a hand-tie baler. I don't know if you heard of that, a case hand-tie baler. One set the needles, and the other one had a tie. The bales on the other side. There's one on each side on that baler, and then had to have a tractor driver. So my dad waited and waited for a tractor, so he finally got one in 45. And I drove tractor in the summer months. We baled hay every day. We baled 150,000 bales a summer. He did only 1 or 2 balers in the country. We baled hay, and then when they had big straw piles back there from the thrashing machine, we baled most of them straw piles in the neighborhood too. Everybody knows how to work in Iowa, and like I said, I didn't have much childhood. I just worked from the time I was 9 years old on up, you know. And there'd be child abuse nowadays, but back in wartime there was no men left. And my mother prayed for all hired men that left our place, and a lot of them names worked for my dad. And he was in between years where he wasn't called for a service, but his brother was, and he just had to go up to, was it Camp Ripley up in
Minnesota?
Yeah, he was up there for training and stuff, but evidently the war was over or something. He didn't have to stay in. Well, I was in 1A, you know, before I got out of high school. In 54, as soon as I turned 18, I was in 1A, and of course the war just got over in 53 over there, and they didn't really say it was completely over till 55. But anyway, 2 of my classmates had left in 55 to go over, and they asked me to go along, and I said, oh, I'm going to wait a little bit. Well, then I decided I was going to have to go anyhow, so I volunteered draft, and I got down to Des Moines. And the U.S. number was used up, so I had to go on ER. So.
And what does ER stand for?
Enlisted Reserve. One of the most interesting parts, when we was going overseas, we was on pretty rough water, and one of the guys got hurt. It came over a 50-foot deck, and it took his feet out, and he's going down the steps and broke his back. We airlifted him off in Midway. And it's just a real small island over there. And we airlifted him off. And then it got calm. A couple of days later, we was going along, and one of them big blue whales come right along the edge of the ship. And just like he was having fun with us, he was blowing out of them 2 nostrils up front. He was blowing water in the air. And I just wished I had the camera at that time. That was just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And he swam along, I bet you, for 4 or 5 miles right along the ship.
Really?
So that was so nice to see that. I almost got killed one time. There was 3 infiltrators coming across. And I was coming across the side road just before I got to Freedom Bridge on the south side. And I was coming up over this knoll. We'd been out in our training different times. And I was running a little late, and I thought, well, I was down in the 13th field, and I'd slip up over that hill. Well, that was a mistake, because there were 3 Koreans there, and they were dressed like women. And I didn't know if they were south or north. Well, it didn't take me long to find out they wasn't south. One come up over the hood, one tried to come in the right side, and the only thing that saved my life was a tree about this big around. And one come over the hood, I hit him, he got up far as the windshield, bang. And the one out here I kicked out, and he was that far from getting my M1. And the one on the left, he had to hold my steering wheel. I said, oh my, what am I going to do now? And there was a little tree there and scraped him off, and I think saved my life. They'd had my Jeep and killed me, and that'd been it.
Were you driving your Jeep at the time
Oh,
when they
yeah.
were trying to take it over? Or were you parked?
No, I was moving, but I slowed way down. I thought they were friendly, but I found out when the one jumped on the hood, I was in trouble. I suppose they wanted to kill a few South Koreans the other day. I don't know what the deal was, but it wasn't a good feeling. I shook like a leaf. When I got out of that, I went back and told the sergeant. He said, well, that's nothing unusual up here, he said. Well, when we go out to the north side of the bridge, we're on OPs. It's outpost 213, 214, OP Maisie. Every mile or so, they had these checkpoints where they watched the northern line.
And what's that part called?
38 parallel. Worked the radar on the outpost 6 months of a tour duty, and that was full time. If it was foggy during the day, we had a whole double shift. And there's 8 of us up there, and there's always 2 on duty all the time, and where the scope was. Our radar looked like the dish system you brought your television in. I think they stole that from the Army. But anyhow, it's got a big scope in the center, and it's called the AMPQ-10. Because it's called the AMPQ-10, it's got 10,000 volts going out of there. And it can go right through the fog and you watch the roads on the other side. So that's what radar is. And it really got power, you know. And it's just like daylight on our scope. It showed the lips on our scope looked like these soybean beetles, and a little lip like that, and there's lines through it. If it was a small lip, it was a Jeep. If it was a little bit bigger lip, it was a deuce and a half. If it was a bigger one, it was a tank.
Oh.
So we could tell what size vehicle by that on the scope. And we run that 24 hours a day. It was foggy. But radar was so important, they could see where the enemy was too. And another thing, when we went on training, we would go out to this big valley over by Red Cloud, and we could trace the mortars in the 105 Hausers. We know where they come from and where they landed. So that would get your position where they could shoot. When the enemy was shooting this way, the radar could track that, right where that comes from, and then they could zero right in on where the enemy was. So they had drafts where they could pinpoint that. I don't know if I ever had a bad day while I was over there. I mean, I had good people to work with, and if you got good sergeants and officers you're working with, that makes your day a lot easier. We had powdered egg, powdered milk. We had horse meat on Thursdays out of Argentina. It was our weekly special. But it wasn't really bad. It was salty and kind of hairy like. It didn't slide down so good, but it was edible. But we didn't have real nice food over there, you know, like back here. But like I said, when we was on the outpost, sometimes we only want one meal a day. When we went down when that infantry company, India company, where that landmine was, they closed that down then. So then we took the Jeep and went down the E company, down, about 3 miles we had to drive, but we only went once a day. We had coffee on hand and stuff, but I guess we just didn't really think about eating that much. And here's our field pack display, what we had to carry in our duffel bag when we traveled anywhere. About 40 pounds there we didn't have on our back if we was out on field. Here's our barracks down at the 24th Division. And our foot lockers and all displays. They did put up some workout bars up there, so we had something to do. This here was our church in the 24th Division Artillery.
Okay. Did you attend church?
Oh yeah, whenever I was back there, I'd go. Here's what told the areas. I think 213 is on here in Panmunjom. We're 5 miles from Panmunjom, and we garden the road from there to Kaesong. It was the area just across the north line, right along the line. One of them was 5 miles, and the other one was about 4 miles from us. And that's the one, with our radar set, we'd call it moving targets on that road, and we call it back to 24th Division. Every target had to be called in. Here's the rice paddies down on the south part of the Freedom Bridge, not too far from there, and a bunch of people working in the rice paddies there. I come home from overseas on the 13th on my birthday, or 14th of August of '58. And we got in Korea probably around the 27th, I think, of April of '57. We was on the ocean 23 days going over and 22 days coming back. Oh, I thought it was kind of special. I knew my tour was over there. The water was one of the things that was really bad. We had to take a lot of malaria pills and a lot of shots. Well, my dad, he'd bought a farm before I went into service, and I went farming, and then I drove truck for Coomer's Construction the first year. And we was working 72 hours a week, and I was trying to raise a few pigs and stuff on the side, and I'd get up 4:30 in the morning and get home about 7 at night, and didn't have much time to eat and sleep. I was all alone doing work. I just think we need to honor our country. If we don't, we're not being what we should be in life. Everybody should feel that freedom comes with a big cost. It's not always easy to leave home, but if you trust in the Lord and pray, God will lead you in the right way. He'll help you through it. I know there'll be times when you're going to miss home a lot, but there'll be times when you will feel good about what you're doing, honor your country. There's nothing more special than honoring our friends and neighbors and letting them know that there's nothing more important than to keep our country free. I know there's a great cost to it, but I enjoyed and honored my country when I was there. May God's blessings be with you.